Before considering relocation, it's important to evaluate your financial capacity and make informed decisions. So, guys, I saw this piece of write up on a group chat I am, Nigerians living in Abidjan, and I decided to share it on my platform because it's going to help someone out there who is planning to relocate or move down to Ivory Coast in 2026. So, guys, watch this video to the end, and if you're new to this channel, please do well to like and subscribe to this channel. I'll be reading it from the platform where I saw it, and I'll be making some little explanation, although the whole points are self-explanatory. So it says, before considering relocation, it's important to evaluate your financial capacity and make informed decisions. Here are key factors to consider. The number one is exchange rate and cost of living. 100,000 naira is approximately 40,000 sefa, which is insufficient to rent even a studio apartment in Côte d'Ivoire. The cost of living here is higher than some parts of Nigeria. So, financial planning is crucial. Now, let me explain this point. 100,000 naira is equals to 40,000 sefa, according to the current exchange rate. So, what this point is saying is, in some parts of Ivory Coast, like Abidjan, which is the country's capital, as we all know, in every part of the world, in every country, there are expensive places to live in, and there are affordable places to live in. So in some of these expensive big men place, 100,000 naira, which is 40,000 sefa, might not get you a studio apartment. Studio apartments, it means a self-contained, which is your single room and your kitchen and your toilet. So that is called studio apartments here. And mind you, apartment here is being paid monthly. I'm going to do a special video for apartments in Ivory Coast. So apartments is paid monthly here in Ivory Coast. And then this point is saying that in some expensive areas, 40,000 sefa might not get you a studio apartment. It's actually saying the cost of living in that aspect is higher than in some parts of Nigeria if you do the calculation and the conversion. So financial planning is crucial. So what this means is, if you're someone that is looking at moving to Ivory Coast, or if you're moving to a new place, you will start from a place that is less expensive or places that are affordable to live in. You get my point? So you're just new coming to Ivory Coast. You don't need to, go to an expensive place where housing will be very expensive, cost of living will be very expensive. You need to cut your coat according to your size. Make research on affordable places you can live in, places that are quite affordable. So this 40,000 sefa, which cannot get a studio apartment in some areas in Ivory Coast, can actually get a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom apartment in some other parts of Ivory Coast. What is saying, financial planning is crucial. So cut your coat according to your size. Make research on places that are less or that are affordable to live in. So the number 2 point says saving and financial preparedness. It says, have you been saving before deciding to relocate? Your saving will play a significant role in determining whether you can sustain yourself in Côte d'Ivoire, which is Ivory Coast. Relocating without sufficient fund can lead to serious financial struggles. So this point is self-explanatory. You're relocating, you're moving down to a new country, you need to prepare yourself, you need to save enough money, especially considering exchange rates. Because if you have 1,000,000 naira in Nigeria, coming down here, converting it to sefa, it will be around 400,000 sefa. So as you're saving, you're considering the exchange rates of the country you're coming to. So that is what this number 2 point is trying to say. And then the number 3 point says, migrating alone or with family. That's the question. If you're moving with your family, your expenses will be significantly higher. Rent, feeding, healthcare, and schooling. That's if you have children. Requires careful budgeting. So this point also is talking about, cutting your coat according to your size, living according to your means, budgeting your money. And one thing I advise people that are coming to Ivory Coast or are moving to relocate in Ivory Coast with their family, I advise one person should come down first, and prepare the ground, arrange accommodation, stabilize and know the place before bringing his family. At least you stabilize for some time before bringing in your family, because once your family move down with you, the expenses are going to be double or triple depending on if you have children and the number of children you have. So that's what this point is saying. And then advice: sort out your accommodation first. Securing a place to stay is 60% of your challenges solved. Without having stable housing, survival becomes even more difficult. So this point is saying accommodation is the key thing, is the most important thing if you're moving to Ivory Coast, or if you're moving to any part you're relocating to anywhere. Accommodation first. So securing a place to stay, at least you've have 50 to 60% of your problem solved. The second advice says have a business or income plan. Côte d'Ivoire is a commercial hub, and almost any legal established business can thrive. Having a source of income is essential to sustain your stay. This is talking about having a stable source of income, like running a business, starting up a business, building your business. And this some of the things I've been talking about on this channel, doing your business. I've made two videos, this video here and this right here, about a business in Ivory Coast. So you can go to my YouTube channel and watch them. So this point is basically advising people that are planning to immigrate to Ivory Coast to have a business or income plan. Having a stable source of income is going to be very helpful. And then another advice is do your research thoroughly. Do thorough research. Study the market, the economy, the opportunities before making moves. Ask questions, seek advice, and plan strategically. This cannot be overemphasized. You're moving to a new place you don't know, with a different language you're not familiar with. You need to make research, you need to ask questions, you need to plan strategically. So when you finally come down here, you'll be able to survive, basically. So the final thought here says, Côte d'Ivoire is a great place to live in if you're financially stable and you have a solid plan. However, relocating without sufficient funds or income can make it difficult. Take time to review, rethink, and plan properly to ensure a smooth transition. So this is like the conclusion of the write-up. It's basically saying financial, after moving down to Ivory Coast, financial stability, having a business plan, having a solid plan is very important. I talk about business a lot. I encourage people, that wants to go into business a lot, because Ivory Coast is an economic hub where most business, any legal business, you want to do, you want to venture into, it's going to put food on your table. It's going to help you as long as you're committed to it, you put in your all in the business. It's going to be very helpful. So guys, we've come to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please do also like this video so YouTube can recommend this video or push this video to many other people that needs this information. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Diamond. I'm a Nigerian living in Ivory Coast. Please do also like, subscribe, and share. See you on my next video. Bye.